In collaboration with AB Capital Securities Inc., Global Strategy Real Estate presents to you the weekly stock market wrap-up, posting every Friday of every week.
少し、この生ライブ対談について、説明しておきたいと思います。で、この時間はですね、2部構成になってまして、前半部分で、Q&A という形で皆様から日々ですね、質問等を受け付けております。で、その質問に対してですね、実際に AB キャピタルの現地アナリストの方をお呼びして、その方たちに答えてもらうという時間ですね。これが前半部分 Q&A という形であります。で、後半がですね、ウィークリーラップアップというもので、毎週の、マーケットの情報、それから個別銘柄の情報ですね。で、今現状どういったフィリピン株の状況になっているのかというのを毎週ですね、総括をしています。で、前半部分はですね、基本的には英語のやり取りにはなるんですけれども、前半の部分はですね、私たちの日本語の同時通訳もつけて解説していきます。で、後半はですね、ちょっと英語でのやり取りで、同時通訳が難しいというのもありまして、ただですね、後日日本語の翻訳もつけて、また動画の配信を、会員様限定にこれはしておりますので、英語わかる方はですね、2部全部通して見ていただいてもよろしいですし、英語が少し難しいという方もですね、後日動画の配信をした際にですね、日本語の翻訳を見ながら見ていただければ内容わかるかと思いますので、どうぞ最後までお楽しみください。で、今回ですね、パネリストとして参加しているのが日本側で、私、松下と家村で、フィリピンのですね、私たちの、スタッフとしてマリアンで、AB キャピタルの、現地アナリストとしてレクスターさんとランスさんに、お越しいただいてます。ではですね、早速、時間も限られていますので Q&A の方から、今週も入っていきたいと思います。今週は先ほども話した通り、テンバガー10倍株の現状の状況と今後の予測について聞いていきたいと思います。では、家村さん、お願いいたします。
以上ですね。
はい。ではですね、一応、テンバガーのですね、今、総括2週にわたって、してきました。で、こういった形でですね、結構多分今回の情報を整理しておいて、自分の方でですね、なるべく早い動きで投資しておくと、テンバガーなので、今後の伸び取り込みながら、成長取り込みながら、多分今フィリピンは一応ロックダウンでまだ経済なかなか動けてないですけど、これが経済正常化すると、かなりこういった業界のこの株っていうのは伸びが予想されてます。
松下君だいぶ買ってるんでしょ、だってこれ。
そうです。
松下君のパフォーマンス、僕のパフォーマンスより全然いいんだね。だから、僕結構分散、めちゃくちゃ分散してるけど、松下君結構このテンバガーにフォーカスしてやってるから、僕のパフォーマンスより全然いいよね。
それは大きな声でしてないですけど、結構そうですよ。
いいよね。結構いいよね。
そうです。このコロナ禍なんですけど、結構、このテンバガーのおかげで。
いや、ここにだからね、そこはね、もう皆さんの考えだけど、ちょっとね、チャレンジしてみたいんだったら、こういうのを少し厚めにね、持ってるとかね。
そうです。結構、結構話しちゃった通り、規模の小さい会社も多いので、少額で結構買えるんですね。なんで、なかなか始めやすい部分もあったので、私は結構こういったのも買ってるんですけど、かなりやっぱ伸びてるので、そうですね。はい。ちょっとそういった形で、テンバガーのですね、また動きなんかも定期的にこういった形で配信していきたいと思いますので、また、こういったこと以外にもわからないことがあれば、皆さん聞いていただければですね、毎週プロの方に私たちが直接聞いていきますので、ぜひ何かあれば、ご参加いただければと思います。ではですね、ここで一旦 Q&A のを締めさせていただきます。で、後半はですね、ウィークリーラップアップとして、今週のマーケットの方も聞いていきたいと思いますので、では、Marian, let's get started market wrap up.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the weekly stock market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. And today we have Mr. Lance to give this week's stock market report.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Lance and welcome to this week's market. So first off, for the US markets, The Dow and the S&P closed at record highs for last week, given positive unemployment claims and retail sales data. So unemployment claims last week was at around 570,000, which was better than the 710,000 estimate. And for the retail sales data, it surged in March by 9.8%, topping the 6.1% estimate. And for the Philippines, some economic news, February trade gap widens as imports rise. FDI surged in January by 42% to $961 million. So that's a really significant development, especially with the passage of CREATE. So assuming better economic situation here in the Philippines, we expect more hefty FDI inflows. Next, infra spending accelerated in February. House seemed to approve biennial 3 next week. Duterte asked Congress to give priority to new laws removing barriers to foreign investments. NPL rose to its highest level since October of 2009. It's at 4.8% in February. And cash remittances growth fastest in 5 months. It's up 5% to $2.5 billion. And again, the moratorium on mining projects has been lifted by President Duterte as well. And some corporate news. Now corporations plans capital raising, and Ayala Land Logistics acquires cold storage facility. So on a week-on-week basis, the index is down 50 points. Right now, we're seeing sideways trading as investors remain cautious given uncertainties as COVID cases continue to spike. And as you can see, value turnover continues to get thinner. For last week, it averaged just 5 billion pesos. And for foreign transactions, a lot of foreign investors are still selling the local market. For last week, it accumulated to 3.8 billion pesos. So that's the 9th straight week of net foreign selling. And year to date, net outflows accumulated to 39.7 billion pesos. And their outlook for this one is still the same. We continue to expect net foreign selling to persist most of the days, given that we still have a very high number of active cases, and despite the availability of vaccines, we haven't seen a turnaround in the spiking of daily cases. So having said that, year to date, the Philippine stock market is among the worst performing markets in the region, down 9%. And in terms of PE, versus the regional average, the country's 2021 PE is at a premium at 17.9 times. So the average is just around 16.5 times. And comparing it to its 5-year historical average, which is at around 18.2 times, and 10-year average of around 18 times, we're trading at a bit of a discount right now. So just an overview of an update of the COVID situation here in the Philippines. So about 1.2 million people have been vaccinated. And so far this April, daily cases average 10,400. And again, that's significant from the past months. Again, from November to February, daily cases were just hovering around 1,300 to 1,800 cases. For March, it jumped at around 5,000 cases per day. And for April, as I've mentioned, so far we're at 10,400 cases per day on average. So for our market outlook, we expect the index to consolidate within 6,400 and 6,700 for now. We don't expect the index to break above 6,700 amid lack of positive or strong catalysts. And it seems like the market has established a strong support at the 6,400 level, given that for 2021, I believe the narrative remains to be that 2021 will be a recovery year. So we're seeing investors accumulate near the 6,400 level. And key events, money supply data will be out on April 30. And for our picks, it's still the same as before. We just again updated the figures. For the dividend play, we suggest go for the companies with high dividend payouts that also have stable earnings amidst the pandemic. So the telcos, Globe, and Meralco. And for the pandemic picks, again, with the worsening COVID situation here in the Philippines, demand for their products has has been increasing. So Pure Gold, URC, and RHI. And for the value play, it's also the same as before, given that these companies are still trading with a price to book of less than 1, which indicates that they are a good value investment. And to aid you with your trading, we included resistance and support levels. And finally, this is the graph of the companies trading from their 10-year standard deviation. So again, the companies in the negative territory are the companies trading at a discount versus their 10-year average PE. And the companies in the positive territory are the companies trading at a premium versus their 10-year average PE. And that's it for this week's market wrap. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Ran-san. I have several questions to you. Firstly, foreign direct investment surged this week. What kind of foreign direct investment coming into Philippines, and what the reason and the background why now FDI surged?
Well, for FDI, this is actually mainly because of lower base from 2020. And most of, I believe most of the growth is really coming from reinvested earnings. So existing reinvested earnings, meaning existing foreign investments that they're trying to increase their capital here in the Philippines.
Oh, this is a factory or logistics or just what do you know what kind of investment?
Actually, it's a bit broad. There are some in manufacturing. There are some in financial services.
I see,
so essentially, it's across other sectors.
I see. So the foreign investors start to do investment to Philippines because Philippine economy currently is really bad. They see it's gonna be rebound pretty soon.
Well, I guess what added also to that is that during the first quarter, so for the month of January, the lockdown measures were not as tight as compared to January.
I see. This is a quarter basis. I see.
Month. This one's for the month of January.
Month of January. I see. Okay. Situation change different compared with now. I see. Okay. Thank you. Could you tell me the Bayanihan 3? The contents. What is the major contents of Bayanihan 3?
Well, the proposed bill is roughly around 150 billion to about 300 billion pesos. The discussions will be underway this week in the House of Representatives. It includes assistance to the Department of Social Welfare and Development for cash assistance for people who lost their jobs.
I see.
And I believe it also includes, I think, about 1,000 pesos for every citizen. So that's roughly around 100. So roughly 1,000 pesos times the population. So that's roughly around 100 billion pesos.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, but essentially, it's more on cash. I would say cash assistance for most of the citizens, especially for those who lost their jobs.
I see. Thank you. And another interesting story, Duterte requesting the removing barriers to foreign investment. Which area of foreign investment he is considering to ease the restriction? Which area, which business or industry?
Well, actually, the past few years, the administration has actually tried to rationalize its tax regime.
Mm-hmm.
And if you recall, the corporate income taxes was actually lowered to 25% from 30% for this year. The government is also considering easing foreign ownership restrictions.
Foreign ownership.
So if you recall, the maximum foreign ownership allowed is only at 40%. But they're starting to ease that, especially that our competitors in the region, especially like countries such as Vietnam, labor costs are cheaper. So it's becoming more attractive. So with this, we're hoping that it would be more attractive to invest here in the Philippines than our neighbors. So there's actually lots of room to improve. I think the loophole also to that is that the government is also thinking of removing economic zones. So if you're located in a PEZA or Philippine Economic Zone, you get tax incentives, income tax holidays. So I think the government is also trying to, I guess, rationalize that. It's essentially trying to package a good deal for both foreign investors as well as the locals.
I see. Thank you. Okay, and Ayala Logistics acquires cold storage facility. So what is their strategy of the business to buy cold storage facility?
Actually, there are lots of uses for cold storage. So it can be, it can be vaccines. It can be, other medicines. It can be meat or food related. There are actually lots of, lots of products that can be stored in cold storage facilities. So I think that would the goal of Ayala Land Logistics is really to expand their portfolio by acquiring new land, and then as well as new assets. So I guess with the acquisition of the existing cold storage facility, it's already operating, and it's very also timely since, of course, with the track record of Ayala. So in terms of efficiency, I think they can operate it better with their takeover.
I see. Cold storage facility or cold chain facility in Philippines, it's basically the shortage, not enough capacity of the cold chain facility in Philippines. So this has a big demand.
Yes. So it's like a warehouse. Essentially where you need, let's say, for example, if they have clients that needs to store, it can be, let's say, for example, URC is deciding to maybe ship their products there. That's actually a big business also. And it's also a booming business since logistics is actually growing, especially with the growing demand for food deliveries, packages. So it's actually, I guess, a new growth sector, especially here in the Philippines. That the logistical, I guess, infrastructure isn't as sophisticated yet. So with the entry of Ayala, then actually that provides them a first sort of like a first mover advantage to a growing sector. And we're confident that this sector is still actually about to grow. It actually it's barely starting in the Philippines.
I see. Oh, thank you, Lexter-san. Okay, that's all on my question, Marianne.
Thank you, Mr. Lexter, Mr. Lance, Yumura-san, Matsushita-san for joining us today. And that's it for our weekly stock market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. Thank you and see you again next week.